Thanks. I'll introduce myself. My name is Laura O'Malley. I am a very new member of the steering committee. This is my first meeting facilitating, so bear with me. But anyway, with that said, also let's introduce our other steering committees in this meeting.
Gary Myers, and see what happens. Oh, I know Decker Towers.
My name is Fareed. I live on Ledgemere Street. And I think we are the steering committee currently. We're recruiting new members. So please consider joining us as the steering committee member. It's a lot of fun, and it's Nate used to be on the steering committee. Probably could tell you some about it. But it's we all really care about Burlington, and we all really care about this neighborhood, and we all really care about democracy. So let's make it happen.
So, could you ask Cheryl and Andy if they can hear us?
Awesome. Let's pause for a check. Cheryl, Andy? Cheryl, you can hear?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Awesome. How about you, Andy?
Big no. He's on mute. Andy.
Yeah, he's
Thumbs up.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, thumbs up usually.
Yes, I can hear.
Awesome.
We're just talking about you, Andy.
Hey, Andy. Hello.
Thanks for joining us. All right. With that being said, thank you, Fareed, for laying that out. Are there any nominations? It could be self-nominations, it could be for others. And if you just want to introduce yourself and just talk a little bit about why you're here, and who wants to nominate first? Perhaps Nate.
Yeah, nominate Nate, not Terry.
Sure, thank you, Fareed. I wasn't planning on joining until today. But I have been thinking about the neighborhood planning assembly recently. And I was steering committee member from 2020 to 22. And that was a really interesting time. It was pandemic, and it was interesting to try to figure out how to build community then. And took a step back from the NPA specifically, but kept doing that kind of community building. And recently I've really been having my mind on just service and like figuring out ways that we can use some people power to do something good. So that's kind of where my mind is. And, the NPA is a great, interesting opportunity because it's kind of unique in the city structure. And there's a lot of potential, there's a lot of legacy, and there's a lot of room to grow too. So happy to join. Happy to see what we can do. Oh, and I live over on Pine Street, in between King and May. So the very far edge of Ward. Yeah.
New stop.
Yeah, right. If you've seen the new stoplights, we're between those. Thankfully, we're able to walk most places. Yeah. And this is my partner, Maddie, too. She's not, I don't think you want to be nominated.
I'm okay for now.
Yeah.
My first
Yeah.
kinds of meetings.
Yeah.
I heard for now.
Yeah.
You never know. She's a great community advocate as well, too. Not this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nate.
Yeah.
Awesome. Is there anyone else who would like to self-nominate or nominate someone else? Cheryl or Andy?
No, thanks.
Actually, awesome. Okay.
Can I mention that there are two of us here watching together, so we're going to vote together.
I'm so sorry. Could somebody?
There's two of them on the Andy's screen, so they're gonna vote together.
Oh, I see.
I
Got
mean,
it. Thank
vote
you, Andy.
separately, but at the same time.
Got it. Okay. All in favor of Nate joining the committee?
Hi, welcome.
Thanks. Yeah, glad to be here.
2 votes for Nate.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Andy and Ruby. Good to
Hi.
see you virtually.
See the name. think that makes sense. Awesome. Well, thank you, Nate.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll give you some information.
Yeah, sorry, now on the board.
Yeah. Great, on to the next item, so let's see.
Are we gonna do community forum?
I think we're just gonna move on. Yeah, public forum. Thank you for keeping me on track. Yeah, so who would like to speak first? Please.
Hi, everybody. Should I speak?
So
into
hand
the
him the
mic
mic.
for the-
Oh, maybe pass him the
Thank you.
mic.
Thank you. Hi, neighbors. My name is Kevin Bloom, and I'm running for the office of Sheriff of Chittenden County. I'm running on a platform of eviction reform through eviction prevention to keep children and families housed, get landlords paid, and create a safer community for all of us. And today I'm actually here getting signatures for my friend Amy Payne, who is running for High Bailiff. Amy is a mom, a writer, and one of the kindest, most thoughtful people I've met in recent months campaigning, and it's really great to make new friends, and I'd really love to see her get on the ballot. So if you're interested in supporting getting my friend Amy on the ballot for High Bailiff, we can pass this around and sign it if you'd like to, skip it if not, but Nick already signed, so we'll pass along. Thank you so much. And
Can you describe what High Bailiff does?
well, a High Bailiff
It's always a good question.
can arrest a sheriff.
Really?
Yeah.
Technically, I think Amy's looking to bring advocacy to this position to speak to issues in our community with the thoughtful perspective of a writer and someone who deeply cares. So I'd be a new type of sheriff. She would be a new type of high bailiff.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Who would like to speak next?
I would like to just thank you for the food and was well appreciated.
Thank you.
I guess I'll say something. I wasn't gonna, but hey, everybody, I'm Dave Foss. I live at Decker Towers as well. I just want to let people know this is a very good organization. It is the closest thing we have to democracy right now. The town halls are good, but I think these are better. We do get a chance. I've been here solid for 3 years now. I would be on the steering committee, but transportation issue, I can't always be where I want to be. But this is a good idea to express ideas, comments. Decker Towers soon after the end of the deadline for everyone running for office, we will do our election cycle events where we do invite the candidates to town halls there. And, you know, doing this, there's still some things out there that I think the NPA needs to get involved in. And part of it is helping develop the new property that's being built just west of us here a little bit, new neighborhoods. And the NPA did work on a community center idea for a bit. And then it kind of, we realized we needed more power and more money and stuff like that. But I think NPA needs to be a voice for what's going on there. And that helps. I mean, their city council people, elect them, they'll be coming up for vote soon. I mean, some have been filled, but every year or so, there's another one. But that's a big place to let people know about Burlington, its history, welcome. I mean, it's a chance to really open a brand new chapter of Burlington. So, thank you.
All right, who would like to speak next? If anyone else wants to speak next.
I can add a quick one.
Sure.
I've been organizing some community cleanups down at the Urban Reserve recently, and partially with the BTV cleanup crew, and Bella and Sarah were able to join. I kind of stole them one time. And said, hey, come to my project. So I might be doing that again today. But that is to say that the Urban Reserve is the section of the waterfront bike path that is just north of the Community Sailing Center. And we've just been doing community cleanups there of just kind of the things that are left over from the folks who are staying there, the remnants of camps and things like that, but also just years of accumulation of trash and things, and in many of the nooks and crannies of a really great public space. There's a lot of times when we don't really know what we can do in a situation, and this isn't solving those big problems, but it is some way that we can actually come together as a community and do something. So that next one is on Monday from 10 to 3, and you'll see volunteers there. So just stop by, even just say hey if you're enjoying your Memorial Day. So thank you.
Can I ask you one quick question?
Totally.
You know, any idea what they're thinking about doing with that section? I keep hearing a lot of possible redevelopment or reuse. I mean, that
Yeah.
is a nice property, and maybe if we fix it up for everybody, it might keep other folks out.
Yeah, so right now, I don't think that there are any active plans other than there are some conversations that the Parks and Rec Department is having about conservation of the space and kind of approaching it from that angle of the woods and in the particular area that are on the coastal side are like a, kind of a sensitive coastal ecosystem.
Yeah.
So that is their current perspective on the way that they're going to be kind of enforcing it. And people are going to be given mostly 48 hours notice. But for the kind of long-term thinking about it, I don't think that there is a defined vision yet. And what's cool about the space is that when it was kind of created in the 90s, it always had this provision in it that said like the future generations get to decide its use. And that has kind of come up for reinterpretation many times. And as with work and parks, it really comes down to funds. So there aren't any funds allocated for that project in a kind of a transformative way right now. Yeah, sorry if that was a longer answer. I'm also on the Parks Commission. That's my other volunteer role.
Thank you.
So, and that I could give a plug for that too. That's not always a very lively community meeting, but if you ever are curious about parks related things, that meets in this meeting, in this room on the second Tuesday of the month.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. Not as boards that if I speak.
I just wanted to piggyback. If you cannot do Monday, you can
Mhm.
also come every Thursday, 7:30 in the morning. The BTV cleanup crew starts at the top of Church Street. You don't have to come every time. You can come once, you can come every time, whatever fits your schedule. We usually start at 7:30 and then kind of go into two sections in the downtown area, west side and east side. I usually lead the west side group. But it's just become this really positive community space, and we pick up all trash and syringe litter particularly. And one of our volunteers is really dedicated to picking up cigarette butts now. So that's a new fun project as well, recycling those. So that feels really great. We'd love to have you.
Rain or shine.
Rain or shine, winter, heat.
It's a very empowering activity.
Yeah.
And a good way to bring people together.
Thank you. Thank you both for your work as well. Oh, welcome, David. All right, so, David, we are just having our public forum. If there was, something you'd like to speak about, feel free to bring it up now. I don't think anyone else in the room has things, so unless you do, I think we're gonna move on to our first presentation. So
Is it working? Can you hear us?
Oh, sure. David, can you hear us? Can you just give us a thumbs up?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So moving on to our first presentation on McNeil from 350 BT. I'm so sorry we didn't get is that you? I'm so sorry.
I provide a very brief introduction. So my name's Natalie Braun.
And I am here really to introduce a local expert around this issue. But just briefly about 350 Vermont is that it is, I had to write this down because to get this wrong would be bad, but it is a people-led climate justice movement that's actually 350 is international in nature, but in our dear Vermont, the focus is on building people power. And I think I've heard that at least twice tonight already. Justice, a just transition, building community. I've heard that also several times this evening. And foremost, pulling all of that together to bring us much closer to a sustainably healthy planet. And directly related to that and of incredible importance is our energy sources. So I would like to introduce Pike Porter, who is a resident expert, but extremely knowledgeable about the McNeil biomass power plant and the profound challenges that are associated with its continuing functioning.
I'm Pike Porter. I'm a Ward 6 resident. Thank you for having me down. So as Natalie mentioned, there are many residents, both in Burlington and outside, who would like to see the reasons I'll describe in the next 15 minutes or so, McNeil close. Next slide, please, Barbara. Here's a tweet from Bill McKibben, who I think recognizes something I think we need to address, that when McNeil was built in 1984, it was the right solution at the right time. But the crisis is different now, and McNeil is not meeting our needs. Next slide, please. So McNeil is a biomass electric generating plant down in the Intervale. It's owned 50% by Burlington Electric. It supplies power for many residents throughout the state, however, because Green Mountain Power is also an owner in Vermont Public Power Supply Authority, which is a conglomerate of smaller power utility companies. It burns wood. It is the largest stationary source of greenhouse gases in Vermont. It emits between 300 and 400,000 tons of greenhouse gas emissions annually. Next slide, please. It also emits into our neighborhoods over 5 tons of PM 2.5 particulate matter. The process of harvesting wood is harmful for our forest ecosystems. One of the crises that we are facing is a biodiversity crisis, and large-scale logging is exacerbating that crisis as well. But another problem, if you just ignore the climate piece and the ecosystem and health, it just is expensive. When you look and read the Burlington IRP, Integrated Resource Plan for BED, they acknowledge that it's more expensive than available sources, available alternatives. It's a 42-year-old plant. It's old, it's inefficient. It's shut down on occasion over the last couple of years, which necessitated last-minute costs of very high power on the grid. So it's costs about $130 per megawatt to create power. Other renewable or clean sources, even at the high end, are about $100 a megawatt hour. Next slide, please. So the 3 reasons again, it's bad for our climate with a high number of carbon emissions, it's bad for our health, and it's expensive. Like I mentioned, McNeil emits about 350 tons of CO2 pollution a year. This is regardless of the sustainability of the wood that it's burning. This also doesn't recognize the tier 2 or scope 2 emissions that are created from the loggings of the wood that's burned at McNeil. And INSRE, Integrated Natural Resource Solutions report, they're a logging industry. They did a report for the state legislature, and they guesstimate that it takes about 2 gallons of gasoline, diesel, and such to create or to log 1 ton of wood. McNeil burns about 400,000 tons of wood. So we're talking about just 800,000 gallons of gasoline to do this logging. So there's other CO2 that's not even in the EPA, and these numbers here from the EPA that we're not even counting. Next slide, please. One of the reasons we've been doing these tours through the NPAs is to dispel a couple of myths. One of the myths is that burning wood is carbon neutral. In the 80s, we may have believed that, but the climate scientists who study this have agreed that it's not climate neutral. It takes about 80 to 100 years to resequester the CO2 that is burned immediately. Within that 100-year time period, the damage is being done over that time. So the analogy I like to think of is a freezer. Imagine that your freezer's out for a week or out for 100 years, and then you plug it back in. Well, you can bring that temperature down lower, but the food in there is gone. The damage that the CO2 that we put immediately by burning trees into the atmosphere is doing damage that does not get reversed if and when, and it's a big if and when we can resequester that CO2. There was a study done recently, 3 years ago, that says in 25 years at current development rates, Vermont is no longer going to be able to say that our forests sequester more CO2 than we emit. So this premise that there's some kind of, next slide please, Barbara, some kind of closed loop carbon cycle where the trees resequester the CO2 really fails when you look at any kind of lens, put any kind of lens into this argument. It's a timber industry myth that there's this closed loop cycle where the trees reabsorb the CO2 that's burned. So that's what you're seeing on the right there. On the left, unless I'm backwards there, is a NASA carbon model. And these are models. The actual systems are even much more complex than this. But you'll see in the red there in the NASA model that there's something that says human emissions. And that's from fossil fuels, which we definitely have to cut down on. But thinking that we're going to replace it by increasing our burning of wood is not realistic, and it's just going to harm everything. Next slide, please. So we have an image, 3 image there. The top image, wind and solar scenario. In this scenario, nothing is emitted into the atmosphere. And we have healthy forests that are sequestering and storing CO2. The middle image, when we're burning fossil fuels, we are emitting, and again, in the case of McNeil, 350 or so thousand tons of CO2 annually. That's going into the air. I'm sorry, no, that's the fossil fuel piece. But what fossil fuels, we're not degrading the forests by cutting them down. So we have healthy forests to sequester some of that. And the bottom scenario, bottom power, because we're cutting the trees, we're kind of adding insult to injury. We're degrading the very forests that we want to keep in order to help store and sequester CO2. Next slide, please. Another myth that we often hear from BED is that McNeil's wood supply is primarily wood chips, residues such as tops and limbs from higher value wood products. Residue is a term of art, and it really means low value wood. And it's when you look at the contracts, when you look at the certificate of public good issued by the Public Utilities Commission, it identifies as whole tree chips, cutting down whole trees and chipping them up. So yes, they do burn tops and limbs, but they also burn, and I'm going to put it in quotes, low value wood. This low value wood, it might have a bend or some kind of defect that it doesn't make it marketable for anything but burning, or the alternative is leaving it in the forests and letting it do its job as a storage, carbon storage and sequestration process. We hear a little bit about carbon storage systems out there. There's nothing more effective, efficient, or cheaper than existing forests. So there's no industrial process out there that can beat forests for what we're trying to accomplish. Next slide, please. Thank you. So Natalie advised me I have 5 minutes left, so I'm going to try and rush through.
Well, let me ask, do we actually have until 1:45? I know that was the original.
Yeah, we did start early. Maybe I can suck up that extra time.
Can we sequester the rest of that till 7:45?
How about, do you want to allow time for questions as well?
Sure, and if folks have questions, jump in. Doesn't have to be anything formal, but
5 minutes for the presentation and then allow 5.
sure. Yeah, so I'm just going to highlight things. Natalie is going to ask folks if they want more information to sign up later. So if I go over something quickly, get to us. So as I mentioned earlier, we've got a biodiversity crisis. Logging does not help. Logging hurts. Logging exacerbates flooding. State legislator commissioned a flooding report 5 or so years ago. It's hard to find. It's buried. But one of the recommendations that flooding report is leave the wood that would otherwise get burned in places like McNeil and Reigate, leave them in the forests because they help slow flooding. All right, next slide, please. Just a quick slide showing how much carbon is in one healthy mature tree versus 465 landscape trees that you could purchase. So the idea that we can plant our way out of this, we can cut a tree, it's okay, we're going to plant another one, is a little ridiculous. We're going to need, if we're cutting a mature tree, we're going to need to plant 465 trees, unless we can wait 100 years, and we don't have that kind of time. You know, we have a crisis that's imminent. Next slide, please.
Cheryl has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They're just on the screen.
Andy
so-
too, I think.
Yeah.
Cheryl?
Oh, sorry, it's Andy.
No, I don't have a question. Thank you.
It's Andy.
I do have a question.
Sure, Andy, go ahead.
So what is the steam pipe project up to the hospital, et cetera, going ahead? And what happened to all the studies that were part of the deal when the steam pipe was green lighted by city council several years ago? The trade-off was that there would be many close studies of carbon emissions from the plant, and we could track that more closely.
So there have been several studies done as a condition of the district energy project getting approval from the city council. One of those projects revealed that McNeil 8%, it was a study in time, but I think it was 2024, 8% of the wood burned in McNeil in 2024 came through land development, which in the state of Vermont and nationally can't even be considered renewable. The other study, the Valerity study, it's been completed. We had a lot of questions about it. For example, they didn't use CO2 emissions data from EPA and wasn't really able to tell us where their emissions data came from. I explained that it didn't match what EPA was providing. And so it raised a lot of questions. I feel like I missed one of your questions or part of a question.
The other part of the question was, what is going on with district energy?
Oh, it's a good question, and we don't know.
I have one question too.
Yeah.
So what is the preferred viable alternative? Like, say it was like McNeil closes tomorrow, what could replace it from like a viable city investment perspective?
So from a practical business perspective, the very first step is asking that very question. We're asking for cost benefit analysis. We're asking for a plan for retirement. If you would build something like this today, you would have a plan for retirement. Right now, there's no plan for retirement. There's no cost benefit analysis. Saying that, McNeil is probably not running today. It didn't run all month. Is probably not going to run in June. Our lights did not go off. So there is plenty of grid power available on the market today. Grid power, ISO New England Power is 50% nuclear and wind, and about 45% nuclear and wind, and about 45% gas. Gas is per unit energy emits half the carbon dioxide as wood. So when you look at the grid in total, the grid is 6 times cleaner than McNeil is. As I mentioned, McNeil costs about $130 per megawatt. There's rebates, something called renewable energy credits, blah, blah, blah. It's costing over $100. On average, the annual average for grid power is about $55. So that's one alternative. BED has not built any new generation since 2015. 2015, they put in some solar plants. 2014, they declared themselves 100% renewable. They finished up a couple of plants in 2015, and we haven't seen anything from them since. So we'd like them to start building a lot more solar with battery storage, which is cheaper than continuing to pour money into a 42-year-old plant. There's tens of millions of dollars going in this thing, millions and millions every year. All right, let's just quickly go through age and inefficiency. Next slide, please. I'm just going to hit the headlines. Flawed policies. And next slide. So every dollar that's invested into McNeil is not invested into new and clean energy. And I'd just like to leave with this one last thought. Well, 2 thoughts, if we can. The first is, oh, sure, yeah. Again, BED has claimed that we're renewable since 2014. And while that is admirable, renewable energy and clean renewable energy is a zero-sum game. So if we're getting that renewable energy, there's another utility out there that's not. Us claiming it is really not helping the climate. We need to build more new clean energy. And we're not doing that. I think I'll leave it there. Natalie, pipe in if I've missed anything you'd like to cover.
They're just really deeply unpleasant things that come out of the steam pipe
And
or that come out.
Barbara, maybe you just slowly scroll
Yeah,
through some
it is.
things while we're
And
talking.
it doesn't, it's not obvious, but there's, benzene, formaldehyde, the fine particulate matter is, profoundly problematic, especially for folks in the neighborhood. The other thing I would, okay, so Pike, what we're asking or what you're asking is on this, wanting folks to get in touch with, their folks, the mayor, the city councilors, Green Mountain Power, BED, and let them know your concerns around this plant continuing operation, or particularly, if I understand correctly, at even extending operation further by adding the district energy system. Yes, that would lock it in for a much longer time period. And lovely as that sounds, thermal energy networks, no, I'm sorry, that doesn't sound lovely. That didn't sound right, but thermal energy networks can be done in a very different way that is much more sustainable and far less greenhouse gas polluting.
Thank you so much for speaking. Could you both repeat your names on that?
Sure, I'm Pike Porter. Didn't discuss as much as I wanted the particulate matter, but if you're more interested, jot down your name. We can get to you.
And it's all in here. And I'm Natalie Braun, just a volunteer with 350 Vermont.
Awesome. Thank you both.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. And if you're interested in just any aspect of a livable, sustainable, healthy planet, we would love to, we can put you on the 350 Vermont email list, and that would be terrific. So
You'll pass it around.
I will do just that.
Great. Jumping right into our next item. We have someone presenting for DPW Construction. Is that you? What have you introduced yourself? Oh, right. Sorry, Mike's.
I'll grab a microphone.
Here, Jesus.
Thank you. So Robert Goulding, Department of Public Works. So I want to thank you, Ward 5 and community members for having DPW here. Director Chapin Spencer wanted to be here. He's actually still at a special city council meeting tonight, so I'm the only one here. So hopefully you go easy on me. This is my home court. My office is 75 feet away. So thank you again. This was easy to get to, but always a pleasure to come to. DPW is doing a lot of digging this year, as we normally do, but we're probably doing a little bit more this year. We have a lot underway, and it's thanks to the voters in Burlington that funded us, even more rigorously than in the past, thanks to a couple of bond votes we'll touch on. So what I want to do is hit the highlights of this presentation and our big picture look at construction for the year. Certainly, if there's time for questions, which I hope to leave, I'll answer anything you've got, and we're always happy to come back if there's specific projects you want to dive deeper into, or have more questions that perhaps I couldn't get to today. So next slide, please. We are wrapping up the two major projects you are very likely familiar with, either because of what you've heard in the news or running into it on your bike, on foot, or in a car. The Champlain Parkway and Main Street are both on time and on budget. I know they may not feel like that, but they truly are. These are really critical projects, both of which are in real time helping us unlock the potential for more housing in the community and perhaps for better commerce and hopefully more livability for the community because of better lighting, bigger sidewalks, multimodal improvements, and a whole host of benefits that the projects are bringing. Next slide. The Champlain Parkway, as you may recall, or perhaps parents or grandparents of yours may recall, it was originally designed decades ago to be a highway that was going to bisect our community from our waterfront. It is now turning into a 25-mile-per-hour road that will shortly be fully open. in late spring or early summer. It's connecting the south end with downtown, of course. And it brings not just a new road, but it brings a whole host of multimodal improvements, the multimodal path that you may hopefully have been on, stormwater enhancements along the way, a retention pond, things like that, as well as pedestrian enhancements, the crosswalks you've seen, and shorter crossings along the way, which hopefully you've benefited from. Next slide. What is left to do? A couple things underway, might be a little ahead of the curve here based on when I developed the slide, but we are doing signs. We are redoing some sidewalks that weren't done to spec. We have a good inspector on site who makes sure things are done to T. So you may have noticed some sidewalks being redone just to make sure they're built to spec. Obviously, general cleanup, eventually opening the roads. We also did activate the signals, as you may have seen at Pine and Maple and Pine and King. We are monitoring those extra closely. We know that there have been a lot of queuing, a lot of delays. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that. Some of the basics are, obviously, they are stopping some people from taking some movements they otherwise would have been able to make more smoothly with the four-way stops. At the same time, we do have a lot of construction underway. We know that it takes some time to dial in your expectations for the roads. We're monitoring all of that. There is some room for adjustments. So obviously, if you have thoughts you'd love to share about how that's working or not working, let us know today or in the future. Next slide.
Question?
Of course.
I live by Decker Towers and I was using it today. And if you go down Maple Street to Pine, then when there's a lot of traffic, people don't let you turn left. And I don't know if you can make that like a four-way stop and let people do it that way, because I saw two people almost get hit.
We don't
trying
want
to
that.
speed it.
We don't want that. It was a four-way stop. We now have the activated signalization, which does have pedestrian activation, which is kind of one of the big highlights of going to a signalized intersection. We are looking at that and trying to figure out if there are prohibitions on movements or any other signal timing adjustments that can be made. This is a critical kind of evaluation period, and we have heard things like that happening on site that you've witnessed, and certainly we don't want to create a more dangerous condition. We do want to create a condition that's better for pedestrians and hopefully still allows the flow of vehicular traffic.
And I've also seen bikes continue to blow through that stoplight as well, creating a problem with
bikes, cars, we all need to follow the road and follow the rules of the road and share the road. Thank you for sharing those observations. Certainly, we'll make room for more of those at the end if there is time. Just touching really quickly on Main Street, pleased to be almost done with this project, of course. This is bringing another host of improvements. I won't run down the litany of what we think we're bringing to the community, but hopefully you'll have a chance to enjoy it. When it's fully activated, we will be planning a big community event. Hopefully, we'll have some downtown businesses, certainly residents and visitors looking to explore that when we're able to kind of fully open that road. One of the big parts of this that I'm sure got covered well enough in the news, but we want to underscore, is that this project abandoned a 30-foot sewer that was built before the Brooklyn Bridge in our downtown. And you can't build a modern city on top of 150, 160-year-old sewer. This new sewer that we've used to bypass the ravine sewer allows more building, which hopefully translates into more housing, perhaps more commerce that benefits residents, and just a safer streetscape. You can't have sewer systems failing in the 21st century in the core of a downtown. That took the longest. That was the most impactful. That led to some delays, but our contractor and us were able to make those up, which is why we can still confidently say this project is coming in on time. Next slide. I'll skip over this, but it's the sidewalks, signals, tree plantings, paving, and what we're really excited about, public art. Stay tuned for news on a public art parade to show, to really highlight one of the big 4 pieces of public art that's being delivered to the downtown. Next slide. So here's a quick snapshot of a decade's worth of work in, Ward 5 and adjacent that we have highlighted since kind of the last spurt of big reinvestment, the 2017 capital bonds, which led to about a 5-6 year period of robust investment, which we're now hopefully entering back into with some enhanced town meeting day funding. Next slide, please. As I've mentioned, in 2025, the voters approved some significant bonding that really impacts directly DPW's work to do more paving, more sidewalk, and more water work. We'll talk more about those quickly. Next slide. I'm aware of time, so if I talk fast, that just because I want to make sure you see what we've got up on the slide here. The season has started for sidewalk work. We do have a $1.65 million contract planned, which allows us to get to about 3.1 miles worth of sidewalk this year. We have 130 miles of sidewalk. Sidewalks, based on soil condition, use, et cetera, can last about 40 years. 3 miles keeps us on a roughly sustainable schedule. We obviously are starting behind because we know some of the repair has to catch up to the sidewalk network. Next slide, and I'll go into some details there where we get questions about how we make our work plan. We mechanically assess the sidewalk network. We try to do that every 5 to 8 years or so. We use a contractor, we use visual inspections. The contractor will do these mechanical assessments of every dip, crevice, and crack in the system. We'll use visual inspection and your field reports, your reports through SeeClickFix to let us know what perhaps needs more work, what we've missed. We prioritize all of that based on always available funding, but also utilization, location, and then of course the sidewalk condition and how that fits into the prism of assessment that we use. With that said, I already mentioned we're trying to get to 3 miles a year at least, which gets us on a sustainable schedule. There is always more to do, and we recognize that. Next slide. Here is our contractors list for sidewalks. We have other short runs planned in Ward 5. You can see a lot of them concentrate around the Hayward Street area. But there are a whole host of sidewalks. Hopefully you'll be walking elsewhere in the city and not just from Ward 5 that you'll benefit from, along with a few new crosswalks, a few of which bring those rapid flashing beacons that the public has been a fan of because of the safety they can bring to the community. Next slide. Asphalt plants are open. We are paving. If you've been along Colchester Avenue, you've seen some fresh pavement laid there. We have also a similar $1.7 million contract. As I didn't mention specifically for the sidewalks, this is largely funded by the 2015 Town Meeting Day bond. So thanks to the voters who have given their confidence in our work to be able to bring this to the community. Next slide. Similar to sidewalks, might be hard to read. It'll hopefully be up online and we can always share it directly with you, but we prioritize streets in a similar way. We're doing annual field inspections of all 95 miles of streets. We try to meet a 4 mile per average repaving average every year to keep us on that sustainable schedule. 10% of our roads are not meeting the proper condition index we try to peg them to. That is a challenge, always dependent on funding, and then other things that help us make our work plan, location, condition, and what kind of street that is. Next slide. This is in a quick snapshot, our paving list for the year. We have a few streets left over from last year, College and Pearl. Main Street's not up there, but we are paving the lower section of Main Street adjacent to Great Streets. It might blend into Main Street to Great Streets, but that's also on the way. We've emerged from a difficult winter. CAX calls it the most frigid winter in 19 years. All that frigidity, all those freeze thaws tend to really disrupt pavement and what's below the pavement. We did have a lot of water main breaks this year. It's been a challenging winter that we've emerged from. We have a few streets on our patching list. We may have room for more. We had a good bid year where we had a competitive bid season. We have some funds in reserve. Let us know through SeeClickFix or otherwise if we've missed something, but there's always the potential for more, assuming funding and the weather holds up. Next slide. I'm gonna quickly just breeze through this. You voters. Oh yeah.
Just say if everybody's okay, since we went over for your presentation.
Oh.
We can go till 8:05 for you. We can have a few more minutes and allow for questions.
Well, I don't want to eat into other people's time, but we'll be quick, of course. Thank you very much. We do have a lot underway for water. Some of it is underway right now. Much more of it is to come, again, largely funded by those large lake and water bonds from 2025. The big picture is that we have stage 0 underway right now at the wastewater treatment plants. You may recall historically, but certainly in 2018 and the occasional issues since, the wastewater treatment plants have needed reinvestment. We have had issues where we have had permit violations, though in decreasing frequency over the years, thanks to some initial work that's been done. We are now working at the headwaters of those wastewater facilities where we're working on the screening and grit equipment that really then allows us to get to everything else downstream. And we're really excited that we're going out to bid this year to begin the process for stage 1, which allows us to put tertiary treatment, treating phosphorus at our wastewater treatment plants, which is the kind of nutrient driver of cyanobacteria. Now, the city of Burlington we can't do it alone, but we will be doing our part. The issues, especially around cyanobacteria, it's a watershed-wide problem. We are making our investments, and we're really pleased to be kicking these investments off over the next year or two, where we will be launching the stage 1 of that process. We have a few water main projects underway in Ward 5. You'll notice Lower Pine, especially from South Crest to Home. In the coming weeks, will be slightly torn up. It's a relining project, so we dig pits, not the whole road, where we'll reline those pipes, add rigidity, clean them out, and hopefully increase water pressure and increase the lifespan of that pipe. We have a really important stormwater outfall project. May not generate a lot of news, but it's ultra critical for our water quality and the ability to safely convey stormwater away from property and away from the city. Next slide. This is online, and this just maps out the stages that are before us for making these really once-in-a-generation investments. Haven't been made in about 35 years or so at the wastewater treatment plants to really rebuild the plants for the 21st century in Burlington. So I won't launch into this. I'm sure we're going to come back, or at least ask to come back, to talk more about where we're at with water resources. Couple partner networks we're involved in. We encourage you to check them out. You can sign up for the Blue BTV program for a free stormwater assessment on your property to figure out what, if anything, you can do at your home as a best practice to, decrease stormwater flows into impervious surfaces. And we'll be able to kind of run that down and give you a nice list of best practices, conducive to your property. In addition, we're a partner in the Adopt a Drain network. If you're so inclined, you can adopt a nearby storm drain, help us clear it out when it's safe to do so. I think we still do through the network, send you a cool vest, send you some training material. At the very least, go on SeeClickFix and let us know if something's clogged. We try to be proactive ahead of major storms, things like that, but we always need to hear from you too, because you're walking the sidewalks and you're the eyes on the street. Next slide. Last slide here is just stay informed and how to stay in touch. Use SeeClickFix if you want to submit a maintenance request. That's the best way to let us know about potholes, clogged catch basins. Those will get turned around quickly, I hope. Other things like, hey, we need a new sidewalk, we need to be repaved, certainly welcome to report them there. Those obviously take funding and take analysis and time, but it is a good place to report. You can use our customer service, email or phone, to make those same complaints, to share concerns, or to share compliments. And we're open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Anything you need, we're here. And then if you want to learn about construction impacts, boil water events, water main breaks, we are trying to use a whole host of ways to do that. But Front Porch Forum, signage in the street. If your road's going to be paved, sidewalk's going to be done, you'll see greenbelt signage. And we use VT Alert. We have about 23,000 folks signed up right now. We encourage you to do that. Not for everybody, but if it is, and you haven't heard about it, please sign up. Hopefully it'll help you learn more about what's going on in the city to avoid some of the unpleasant kind of side effects of construction or water work. So thank you so much, and I'm certainly happy to stick around for whatever time is left, if there is.
Can I ask one question?
Do allow for questions, sure.
Hate to ask you this one, but Decker Towers on St. Paul Street, the water drains horribly on that stretch around Carey's and all that stuff. Whenever there's a fast storm, that water is it doesn't drain well. Any of those drains, either across the street or in front of Decker, cars go flying through there. And then, of course, no one ever stops with that blinking yellow light crossing between on the Decker side going to Carey's. I mean, SSTA, the bus has almost hit me like 3 times. But that pool, it pools, it does on Pine Street too. But that water is just so heavy in a 15-minute thunderstorm where it's not maybe all the leaves or something, but it's year round when those storms come. And it's hard to walk through. People, of course, hydroplane, all that stuff. And there needs to be some kind of drain project or something.
Drainage, it's one of the things we don't think a lot about as a traveling member of the public, but it's of course ultra critical to city comfort and city safety. So I know we're aware of some of the drainage issues in that location as well as others. we maintain a whole, puddle/drainage list. I don't know where this is on the project queue. I'm happy to leave a card. I'm sure it's been reported, but if you'd like to email me, I can follow up with you.
I mean, we have a bunch of elderly folks and
It's
all-
possible to get from the building into Carrie's Quick Stop. You either wade through 6-8 inches of water or you walk in the street, and in the winter, that's just absolutely unsafe.
sprayed by snowplows and everything else, so
Thank you for sharing.
thank you.
All right, we will move right to the next item. So last list, we have Sue Forge speaking. Okay. Yeah, so thank you so much.
All right. Hello, everybody. I had 40 minutes at a community event on Sunday night and we lasted an hour and a half. So I'm very nervous about 15 minutes, but I will do my best. And I also really want to make sure that there's time for questions. So I'm going to do just a really quick intro, see if there's questions. If they're not, I will keep going. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Sarah George. I'm the Chittenden County State's Attorney. I have been a prosecutor in Chittenden County since I graduated law school in 2011. So going on 15 and a half years. In 2017, I became the state's attorney when TJ Donovan became attorney general. I was initially appointed to the position because he was midterm and then formally elected in 2018 and then again in 2022. And I'm up for re-election this year and have a Democratic primary on August 11th. So I'm here to just introduce myself to folks, to answer questions, and really to, as Pike was talking about, like in his presentation, there are a lot of myths out there about what is or is not happening in our courthouse and what it is or is not happening in Chittenden County. And I really want to be in spaces with as many people to talk about those myths and to try to give accurate information about what is or is not happening. But I will say that prior to COVID, our office was doing some really progressive work around criminal justice reform issues. Several of the policies that we implemented in my office went on to become state legislation, and in a couple of examples, actually state law. We were doing really incredible work on harm reduction. We had our overdose deaths plummet when we started working on getting buprenorphine into our communities and getting people access to services at the emergency department. We were working a lot on bail, cash bail, and also non-public safety stop, pretext stops, which are disproportionately impact people of color. In Vermont, especially, I think there's people of color, Vermonters of color were 14 times more likely to be pulled over by police. They were around 20% more likely to be searched and no more likely to have drugs or other contraband in their vehicles. So we developed the non-public safety stop policy to try to keep law enforcement from engaging in that discrimination in their policing. And that as well has had really good outcomes and has also led to a lot of different legislation. Then 2022 hit and 2020 hit. And what a lot of people don't know is that when the courts closed on March 15th of 2020, most state agencies reopened within a year or about a year. The courts were closed for 2.5 years. So they didn't reopen until September 8th of 2022. And what I mean by open is that we could not bring juries into the courthouse due to social distancing. So we did not have a trial for 2.5 years. Statewide, that was not just Chittenden County, anywhere in the state, which meant that cases were continuing to come into our office like usual, but no cases were being tried. This was also around the time in 2022, we had record numbers of violence in our state. We had 26 gunfire incidents in Burlington alone. The state, I think, had 21 homicides. Chittenden County had 5 homicides that year. So coupled with not having our courts opened, we had this great deal of violence and harm occurring in our community. So when the courts reopened in September of 2022, our office immediately tackled getting those cases in front of juries, particularly the gunfire incidents and the homicide cases, which continued to mean that other cases were not being brought to trial because we were focusing on and prioritizing the crimes of violence. We did that. It's been a long 4 years, but we have actually done that now. All of the 26 gunfire incidents have been resolved. We went from having 9 homicides pending in 2022. We now have 3 pending, and which is lower than most other counties actually in the state. Our gunfire incidents are significantly down. Violent crime is down. And with the help of the governor and a couple of programs that I received grant funding for from national organizations, we did some really cool diversion programs to get people connected directly with services, which allowed us to clear about 1,000 cases from our backlog. Those are those low-level property crime cases that were not being prioritized by the court because we were focusing on our violent crime. So we went from, in 2022, having over 3,000 pending cases to now having about 1,500 cases and only about 200 left of our backlog versus almost 1,000 cases that were considered backlog cases. So as of today, doing really, really well. We are fully staffed. We have a manageable number of cases for each attorney. We were at about 400 to 450 for each attorney in my office, myself included. We are now down to 150 cases each, some closer to 200. But those are the numbers that they used to be. Those are the sort of normal level of chaos that we're used to and what people go into this job for. So we are feeling really optimistic about that. We now have a sort of new version of the governor's accountability court. We do it every Friday, which means that anybody who's engaging in repeat offense behavior is brought into court every single week and seen by a judge every single Friday. And we have Howard Center in the courtroom with us. So they are engaging with those folks. They are connecting them directly to services. They're doing applications for housing with them. They're doing applications for residential treatment, whatever they might need. And if they do pick up new charges, we're working with law enforcement to make sure that we know immediately rather than months away, which was typical before, so that we can inform the court every single week if that person has a new charge. And if they do, our judges right now are inclined to set cash bail when appropriate on those folks, to hold them for some amount of time until they do get into treatment or, connect with services or whatever the particular outcome might be in those cases. We did not have the capacity to do that before because we had so many cases pending. The court literally didn't have the time to put those cases on the calendar. And now today somebody was picked up and the court reset it for tomorrow to make sure that they come back that quickly. We couldn't do that before. Now we can. It's really great. It is allowing people to actually get connected to services, again, in the courtroom, rather than you need to leave and you need to go out and figure out how to connect to this service or how to get housing when most of these folks are, living in tents and trying to figure out where they're going to sleep or what they're going to eat that night and just have no capacity to do that. So it's been really exciting to see it happen in real time and to see people getting connected to services in real time. And as soon as people are connected to those services, their criminal behavior stops. That's when people's basic needs are met, they stop committing crimes. So to see that from week to week and to have the same judge and the same prosecutor, I'm the one doing that now, in the courtroom with them, there's some shared accountability that is working really well. So that's things are actually, again, there's a narrative out there that is, I think, really harmful, and it's intertwining homelessness and public safety in a way that I think is really harmful. And so I wanted to just be here to talk to people directly about it, what is really happening in our courthouse, what is really happening in our community, and what I believe the solutions to really be. And I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone might have. That was very fast. Yeah.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your work.
Yeah.
Are there any questions from the crowd or online that anybody would like to go first? For Sarah?
You already want to say anything?
Oh, got a hand from Andy. You have the floor, Andy.
Oh, thank you. Andy Simon, Locust Street. Sarah, I wanted to thank you for all the work that you've done to clear out what you call the chaos in the system, or at least reduce it back to normal levels. I particularly want to thank you and congratulate you for your decision not to prosecute the protesters who were arrested at the ICE facility on Industrial Avenue. And I think that was a very wise decision. Sarah's office made a decision not to prosecute these mostly elderly people who've not had prior convictions. They were not doing any harm in any way, property damage or physical violence, and clearly were a low priority for prosecution. And I think that was a great decision. I want to say that partly because of that, and partly because of your general record, we have a Sarah George for State's Attorney sign in our yard right now, and that you can get one for yourself at sarahgeorgeforsa.com. Sarah won't bring that up, but I want to put in a plug for it, sarahgeorgeforsa.com, and you can order yourself a sign. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andy. I'm going to sign you up as a volunteer. I also have them in my car. If anybody wants one, I can happily give them to you. And I would also just the plug for my website. I have been doing these videos called Get Curious with Sarah George, and they're all about a minute long, if not 2 minutes. And they break down the sort of complicated laws associated with some of these narratives that are going around. And people have just found them really helpful in terms of like when they hear like cash bail is the solution. There's like a 1 or 2 minute video on how like cash bail is actually not up to prosecutors. It's up to judges. So if anybody's telling you they're going to, fix everything by cash bail, like, well, it's not up to them. It's a false promise. And all cash bail does is keep people in jail that can't afford to buy their freedom, and lets people that have access to wealth out. And people who go into jail for nonviolent offenses are actually significantly more likely to commit violence once they are released from jail because of the exposure to violence they see in jail. So putting people in jail, even for a few days, for nonviolent offenses actually makes all of us less safe in the long run. And the data and the research on that is very strong. The environment that people are exposed to in jail are the very things that people commit violence after experiencing. So I have videos on my website that explain those to people and highlight the laws associated with those things if you're interested.
Yeah, that's great. I definitely will be looking at that later.
I do have one question.
Yeah.
I want to thank you too for all that I live at Decker Towers. It's still kind of in the mainstream of a lot of things. Things are way better now than they used to be. But one thing we do notice, we still get a number of the same repeaters through there. And one of the things somebody needs to work on, and the new court system does help, but some of those people I do find go through the court and they come through basically the same day and repeat some of the same offenses and stuff. And we are finding more and more, again, needles in the building and stuff. It's way better than it was when you first got around. We had everybody living. I mean, a number of people that were living on the streets end up living in Decker, an all 11-story building all over the place, trashing it and making it hazardous and unsafe. There's still people that feel we do with the council and everything is way better, but there's still, I don't know how we can stop a lot of these repeat offenders keep going in. They go back to the same apartments almost where people have been evicted and stuff. And some people end up being placed again in that apartment. I don't always know why, but they end up going through the system again and they're back in the building causing threats and harm. And there are people in our building that are still scared to be part of the community, and
Yeah.
we don't know what to do.
Yeah, I want to thank you for saying that. When things were really bad at Decker Towers, we started meeting regularly with folks and with Burlington Police Department to try to understand exactly what was happening and who was responsible and what our office could do in those situations. And we met often enough that things got better. And then I think the meetings kind of stopped, and we just did start, we restarted them last week after a little bit of an uptick in some of this behavior. And the complicating cases are when people are on the lease, right? Our office and the court cannot legally prohibit someone from going back to a property where they're on the lease. But for the people who aren't, and some of the cases that you've talked about, we absolutely can. What I'm hoping these meetings will help us with is that we don't always know. And often we are going by what that person tells the judge. And we don't have anybody from Decker Towers saying that person actually doesn't live here. They can lie to the judge all day and we won't know. So now we have that direct conversation back so that Steve can email me in the morning and say, this person was arrested. They are not on a lease. They shouldn't be here. Can you do a condition of release that they not come back? And that's what we did it not long after that meeting, actually, on a case. And so we just need to know, like, that open line of communication is so important because we don't always have that information. It's not usually in affidavits. So we're also working with Burlington Police to make sure that they include that information. I would also just generally say that Chief Burke and I have a very good working relationship, and I don't think it was a secret that the last chief and I did not. That was
rough.
It was never something that was not highlighted. It was pretty bad, and I think that the community suffered for that because, I think the community suffered from that breakdown in a relationship that when Chief Burke started was like an immediate switch. He and I have a very respectful professional relationship. Even when we disagree, we have a very respectful and professional relationship. And I think that helps in this conversation as well, of making sure that we are both trying to help and make sure that Decker Towers and residents are safe.
Thank you. The other thing I also think was funny was that there were people that went to court and they gave Decker Towers as their home address.
Yep.
When they didn't live there or
Right.
anything, and the judge would release them.
Yep.
And then they'd say to sheriffs that, hey, my address is here. And they couldn't get rid of them, even though they didn't have an address there, but they told the court.
Yeah, that was happening a lot, and we didn't know until Steve would tell us that they don't actually live there. So we did start filing motions to amend the conditions, but yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
for what you've done.
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much for
Yeah.
presenting.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your questions. Oh,
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here. And I think that complicated systems definitely require long conversations to explain the nuances of them. So being out in the community is the exact way to make that happen. So thank you for being here. And even some things that I didn't fully understand, the nuance of. So glad to be here and hearing that. So my question is kind of like great progress from the untangling. Many things to untangle still, I'm sure. And, should another big upswelling of things that take away your time not happen or increase your workload a lot, what does kind of like a more hopeful future look like? Something like kind of what does continued progress look like in terms of, sounds like some really good innovative initiatives that have worked. So if you can keep that up, where does that go?
Yeah, it's a great question. And first and foremost, I think that I'm already putting pressure on the governor to continue to fund a Howard Center worker in the courthouse. Because that's technically supposed to end in October. He gave us that funding for the year. the only reason that this accountability docket, this Friday docket works is because of Howard Center workers in the courthouse. Because it's as I was saying before, the second that that person has to go find that resource themselves, they don't have a phone, they don't have a house, like that breakdown happens and they're committing a new crime. So that funding, either from the state or from Howard Center, or however it happens, like if we can continue that and have somebody there every Friday forever, I think honestly, I mean, even when we started with the governor's accountability court in October, we had about 90 people that we were working with, and now we're like 20. Like that is a manageable number, right? That is like a solvable crisis. And so it feels like if we can just keep doing that, obviously some new people will show up on that list and some people will kind of fall off that list. But I think just really continuing to keep that down, but to also have that as a backstop when anybody needs it is so important. We've expanded our access to our treatment court. So we have that's also been a really fluid way to get people into our treatment court because they're here every week. So that process is shortened and that screening takes place quicker and all of those connections happen quicker. We've also been working with this national organization that we have, which is like a diversion program that incentivizes people to engage in treatment and not commit any new crimes. And if they do, they get paid every week for going to the meeting with the folks at BCGR and doing contingency management. And their cases get dismissed. So we have like all of these little pockets happening. And I think it's meeting different people's needs where they're at and ultimately like making a huge difference in the retail thefts on Church Street, retail thefts in general around the county is making a big difference for that. And just, I think the general feeling of safety and like health in our communities. Yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like getting the right cases to the right kinds of process.
Yeah, exactly. Quicker too.
Yeah,
like, because before it was just like the delay was so harmful for the person suffering and for the community while they sort of suffered the harm from that person while they were. And then on a bit of a different topic, my office also sort of we gave up a prosecutor position in order to hire a domestic violence investigator in our office. And that is Erin Bartle, who is one of the best detectives at BPD. I stole her. And so she is in our office and picks up, because, law enforcement are still not great at investigating those cases. They're very complicated. The injuries that people sustain often require follow-up when the officers work nights and, they can't do that. There's evidentiary issues that come up and they're not available. They're on 4 days off and we need it in an hour. So she has been a huge asset to us and allowed our domestic cases to just be significantly stronger and rebuild relationships with victims who felt pretty dismissed by law enforcement or weren't taken seriously. And to be able to bring them into our office within a day and get all the follow-up information that we need. Those cases have been significantly stronger, which is something I'm super proud of because it has been a caseload that we've struggled with getting the outcomes that we've wanted because the investigations have struggled and not been great. So that's another really, I would keep that forever. It's always worth. I was really hesitant to give up a prosecutor position because of our caseloads I talked about, but I really believe that if those cases are stronger, that is of more value overall. Yeah, it's been really great. She's a great addition.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for speaking. Thank you to all of our speakers. Does anyone have any other final questions for Sarah? Otherwise, we will adjourn this meeting.
From before.
Hi, Andy. We see your hand. Do you have a question for Sarah? Or is this a hello hand?
It was a legacy hand, I'm sorry.
A legacy hand, right. Oh, thank you, Andy. Awesome. Well, that. Yeah, please.
Sarah's campaign, I have sign up ready to go. And this would be to volunteer, grab a lawn sign, endorse Sarah. Yes. If folks wanted to in the space, or you can go online and sign up for Sarah's campaign to do some volunteering. We're always eager to find volunteers. You can come and see me and my computer if you want to do that here, or you can go online, as I said before. Then we have Sarah also has an Instagram, a Facebook, and a TikTok as well. We're really modern. Yeah. We're really modern.
Like I told Sarah, you'll hear from me after.
I'm looking forward to it.
I will tag team on that. Do I need to bring this three
Oh, yeah.
fifty, or could I bring this 350 Vermont interest for volunteership? Is anyone interested in signing? Or will they bring in cheaper? Just let me know.
So we have to go containers,